WDHA's Reconnect with Rockers. I am connecting with for the first time with a guy that I feel in 5 minutes of talking to him that I've known him like forever. Hi, Des Rocs.
Hey, how's it going? How you doing?
One of my favorite new artists on the music scene these days. Man, like, I don't even know where to start with you. I have to rewind a little bit because I want our listeners to become familiar with you as an artist and who you are and the things that you are doing right now, because I'm going to call you the F word. You know what I'm going to say?
What are you going to say?
Fearless. There's a fearless nature about what you're doing, which I love, which I think is the true sensibility and spirit of rock and roll. And somebody said, oh, you know, he's going to redefine what a rock artist can be. And I thought, no, I don't even think he wants to do that, because I don't think rock and roll and music in general should be defined. And I think that's sort of been your whole goal, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Like, for me, there are no rules. There are no boundaries. I think that any attempt to put a restriction on anything I do or how it sounds is the antithesis of rock and roll, without a doubt. That's like my favorite adjective I've ever heard used to describe my music. I love that word. I'm going to take that if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you are just breaking down the walls and not sort of a conscious, it's sort of as an organic thing for you, I think, because you've been a guy who's, you know, we all sometimes throw stuff against a wall, see if it sticks, see how it feels. And you've been somebody who's kind of brought that spirit in. Now, I think also of you as somebody who's evolved. Like, I'm wearing a Bowie shirt, you know, and I love people who don't do the same thing all the time. And I look at you, you know, in just getting familiar with your music, with the debut and then 2019 Martyr Parade. And then now, of course, This Is Our Life, which is a big, almost cinematic, you know, kind of release. And I'm wondering, and I've seen this with a few artists, if during lockdown time, I feel like people are making music and writing music that is almost like a bigger picture. I can more visual music, if you will. And I wonder if that's because you've been inside, especially I see it with your music, or is that just something that you generally feel is, you know, in you?
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, whenever I'm making records, I'm always thinking about how it feels at a show. So I'm kind of always fantasizing about what that feels like on a really, really big stage. And I guess in lockdown, I've had that fantasy burn a lot hotter than it ever has. So I'm trying to make the biggest, baddest records I could possibly make. Like, I'm not ever trying to play it cool. I'm not ever trying to stare at my shoes. Like, without shame, I want to make a modern version of the biggest rock music that's ever existed.
Yeah, and I hear that, and I see it. The video for This Is Our Life is, oh my God, it's tremendous.
True. It's a fun one. Yeah.
It's fun, and it's you get sucked into the journey, and there's just no way to leave it. It's amazing. You know, it's a little movie vignette.
Yeah. Well, I think what inspires me so much about the rock music I grew up on is the sense of escapism, is taking you out of your daily life for maybe those 3.5 minutes, whether you're in the car, wherever you are, that you hear a song and you're just present and you're just in this other world. And that, to me, is the beauty of music and the power of rock music.
You know, I never like to make comparisons, but I often do, because I think for people watching this for the first time that maybe just, you know, are hearing, you know, This Is Our Life, I do make a little bit of a Queen comparison, which I know they've been an influence on you. And I don't think it's a comparison where you'd be like, don't compare me to, I mean, come on, you know, it's the highest compliment ever. And when I first started hearing your music, it was almost like stuff I could hear on Sheer Heart Attack. It had that sensibility for me, you know, and that was always a very visual album. So tell me, you talked about the people that have influenced you. I also want to talk about your epiphany moment, where all of a sudden you had that bam that went off in your head and you said, you know what, this is what I'm doing. I don't care what it takes to get me there. And I want to do it my way, my rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely had that moment. I mean, I've been in so many bands my whole life, like playing guitar in a band. And it was only 2.5 3 years ago where I made the leap and I was like, I'm going to do my own thing. It's just going to be purely me, for better or for worse, whatever it is. I just want people to have an extreme reaction to it, whether they love it or they hate it, because anything in the middle, there's no room for that. There's a lot of middle in a lot of genres of music, you know? So I was just sitting in a little room in Brooklyn and I hadn't have anything. Like I had no project, I had no money, I had no nothing. I had just had this like really kind of sour music industry experience. And I just sat down and I said like, just wait, can I curse on this or not?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I was like, just let me live or just let me die. And I didn't even really know what it meant. And I was like, it's just this exasperated feeling with like a whole lifetime's journey in music. And then in like 30 minutes, I made this song called Let Me Live, Let Me Die. And I just kind of like recorded it mostly myself with a couple things like a laptop and some guitars. And I put it out and it just went crazy on Spotify. And I was like, man, this is who I am at my core. This is like the essence of me, for better, for worse. And people liked it. So I was just totally inspired to double down on just doing you at all times.
Yeah. No band needed. No
Yeah,
band needed right now.
yeah.
Well,
Just
talk
let
to
your
me about New York too, because you're a New York guy,
Mhm.
living in the city now. And I think that gritty feeling of New York comes out in a lot of your music.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The city is so influential in so many different ways. Like New York, I always describe, and like as a fellow New Jersey New Yorker, like New York is like everything at once. You know what I mean? It's every smell, it's every taste, it's every creed, color, race, religion at once. And for me, like I'm influenced by that tremendously. Like that electricity, all those molecules just hitting each other all the time. Like if I don't get almost killed by a taxi cab crossing Third Avenue before 9 a.m., then I didn't have any fun that day. Like I'm not. I need the energy. To me, it's like Superman, like what the sun is to Superman. You know what I mean? Like that's where I draw my strength from, that
Yeah.
electricity. Like I'm not a chill dude, so I need to
Yeah.
keep
No,
up.
I can feel your feeling too, because I'm that way too. I'm a type A. I always say controlled chaos.
Yeah.
I like the chaos where it's not too far out of, the chaotic realm where you can't get it back. But I don't think I would know what to do. Well, that kind of leads me to my next question for you, because lockdown, when you're the guy that says, gosh, every day if I'm expecting almost to get hit by a taxi cab, lockdown is not necessarily conducive to that creative process then. Now, I have spoken to artists, and tell me if this is your experience too, who are going. And they want to, you got to write music, and then you're out touring and you're doing shows. You said you love playing live, big shows. All right. And then you get home and you write and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people thought, all right, lockdown's not going to suck too much, because I'm going to take a little time. I'm going to get inside myself a little bit. I'm going to write. Maybe I can fine tune things. But then, of course, 2 months goes into 6 months, goes into 9 months, goes into 14 months. So what has this period been like for you creatively as an artist, especially a guy who's literally sort of on the cusp of, touring with these giant big bands, doing arena shows, which is really freaking cool. And then, you're home, you're in the apartment in New York with your dog.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's just like, phew.
Yeah, it can be tough. Like I am definitely one of those artists where it's like a mile a minute. And as a person too, like I'm a shark. Like I always have to be swimming constantly. Like I can't ever chill. I have no chill. I'm the last person you ever want to sit on a beach with, because I have to be doing something at all times, I always have this sense of like time is running out and I have to make art and I have to build things and create things and sing things. So, I was on tour for a really long time, and I came home March 1st of 2020. And I was like, man, you know what? It's actually going to be kind of nice to be home for like 3-4 weeks. And, this whole thing will blow over and yada, yada, yada. So, I'd been like 10 different countries in like the 3 months before. It was crazy. And there were like these waves, like it comes and goes, like acceptance, and also like a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety, and then like a period where like, oh, I'm enjoying the quiet time. I'm going to put my nose down and go crazy and do some work. But without a doubt, it's been a great time to make music. Like I've just been able to be here and just create everything I wanted to create. And I just finished my whole first album. So
Congratulations. Tell me a
thank
little
you.
bit about, and tell everybody about This Is Our Life and the inspiration for the song, which is just, it's such a dynamite song.
Thank
It
you.
cuts through everything. It's like nothing else that we're playing and nothing else that's on the radio. And that's, you know, with the highest compliment,
Thank
just a monster song, so big.
thank you so much.
And so, yeah, I mean, I gather that this year was probably, you know, influential in that song.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that song is such like an exasperated scream. You know what I mean? Like I just always feel like art should reflect the times, you know, and I think that's lost in a lot of genres of music today. So I wanted to make a song that just embodied how I was feeling and hopefully provide a message that everybody else could just grab onto and scream. And I want you to like picture yourself screaming it at a show, you know, have that fantasy, have that escapism, and then we'll do it together for real on the other side.
And so when does, you know, because you're, you know, your given name, Danny Rocco, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Danny Rocco. So when does Danny Rocco become Des Rocs? When is that moment? Because I think, you know, in our lives, we sort of have the person that we were growing up. And then especially as you get into a career and things become artistic and change and stuff, you become, you know, you move to the person that you want to become. So when was that transition for you where, you know, Danny becomes Des and, you know, Des is out there doing his thing?
That's like a really interesting question because it's something I think about a lot, like identity and things of that nature. I write about it a lot too. And, you know, I always say that like on stage is Danny Rocco and that this is Des Rocs now. Like this
Wow.
on stage is the real me. You know what I mean? Like that's the most authentic version of myself. Whatever the hell is happening on stage, like that is the truest version of me. And then this is the show. You know what I mean? Like the everyday stuff, the like the niceties and the casual outside the show stuff.
I love that. Not the answer I expected either. You know, another song I wanted you to talk to me a little bit about. I love Suicide Romantics.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a really special song to me. It means a lot to
Yeah,
me.
tell me a little bit about that song because when I knew I was going to talk to you, I'm like, I have to ask him. I can't forget to ask him about Suicide Romantics. It's such a dynamite song and one that when I listen to, I get totally lost in.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's one that it belongs to this kind of class of songs that I've been writing for many, many years. You know, I wrote that song years ago, and I've just been working and tweaking the production like every couple of weeks. I just opened it up and I'm like, it's not right yet. It's not right yet. It's not right yet. And I wasn't even really like Des Rocs when I wrote the song. And then finally it just clicked and I was like, oh, this is how this song goes. And then it all just fell into place. It was like this great moment of clarity. And it was just in time to end the EP with it.
Oh, it's so great. It's just such an amazing, amazing song. It's a feel song, you know, and I think it probably can mean something different to every single person that listens to it. You know,
So
it's what music should be. So, of course, I would be remiss. I have to ask you about the big arena shows too. You're a ballsy guy because let me tell you something, getting on stage in a giant arena tour, you know, like the Rolling Stones. And it's funny when we started playing This Is Our Life, I had a couple of listeners who called me who had been to different Stones shows, you know, around, you know, the Stones fans, and I'm a massive, massive Rolling Stones fan. You know, the Stones fans, they will travel all over, you know, the world to go see the Stones. And people said, you know, oh, I think I saw him. He opened the show, you know, he opened my Stones show. So is it like a Fast Times at Ridgemont High, you know, moment where Mick calls and asks you to wing on over to London and jam with the Stones? You know, like how does, are you home? Who calls you? Someone calls you, they call you. How do you get that call that all of a sudden you're home, you know, you're in the city doing your thing going, yeah, probably going to do some shows. And then the Stones call.
you know, it was crazy. It was fucking nuts because I'm not like a guy who had, I don't have any like connections in the music industry. You know what I mean? Like I don't have an uncle who works at a record label or anything like that. Like my grandfather was a milkman in Queens. You know what I mean? So, like I've just always been slugging it out, just playing shows and playing basins and yada yada, all this stuff. And then I was playing a show at the Roxy in Los Angeles on my first tour. And then somebody said to me, like, you know, like the Rolling Stones team was in the crowd tonight. And I was like, what? And I was opening on this club tour and I was like, and they loved the show. And I was like, excuse me? You know what I mean? Because I only had a song out. My first song was only out for a couple months at that point. And then I think they brought the music to the band and then was like, yeah, we really dig it. Let's have them open. And I was just like, this is the craziest fucking thing ever. It's like, get
Yeah.
that approval. Cause like, also like, you understand, like no label would sign me. Nobody wanted to work with me at all. It was like, who's this kid from New York City, like making rock and roll music? Like, we do not care. And it was just like crazy to cut through all that bullshit and just have someone with Mick Jagger be like, hey, we'd really like you to open. And I was like, it was surreal. It was like a Cinderella kind of thing moment for me. It really was.
And we want you to open because we saw, our people saw you and we love your music. I mean, that is the most incredible thing, so you get out there, on that giant arena stage, and what does that feel like? Because they're not yet your people, and you can win those people over, but these are not 5,000 seat, 10,000 seat venues. These are, the kind of venues where it's literally, when I'm in them, I'm looking around going, oh my God, I'm getting phobic here. It's too big. It's too big. What is it like to look out into that crowd of people, that sea?
It's surreal. Like 80,000 people, there's no real version of it. There's only like a CGI fake version of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a green screen about 100 feet in front of the stage, and that's what I'm looking at, like a screen. It was crazy, but for me, it was like so reassuring because like I remember starting Des Rocs and like having all these meetings with the record labels and stuff. And I go in there and I'm say, I'm Des Rocs. I'm gonna play fucking arenas and stadiums. Just you watch. And then they would like laugh me out of the office. And then like 8 months later, I was like in a football stadium with the Rolling Stones. It was crazy. But the thing is for me, and then they would come see me play at a club to 20 people, and I would be playing in the club as if I was playing to 80,000 people, and they would just think I was ridiculous. But I say, like, I play the same show to 8 people as I will to 80,000. Like, this is how I perform. This is where I think my music belongs. And it was just a surreal experience, man. I still think about it. I'm like, that tour happened? Like,
right. Did that really happen? Wait a minute. Did I just wake up? Like, I think it's awesome. And I love the journey. I love that journey and how you got there. You did a show, you were at a club show and people liked it and they brought it to the band. And, the band is like, yeah, we like this guy. You know what, too? I always find the Stones always bring like innovative sort of future stars out with them on the road. And that's what I love. I remember years and years and years ago, right after, the Nirvana crash, and I saw Foo Fighters and it was Dave Grohl's band and they were opening for the Stones. And I thought, Dave Grohl's got a band? Well, that's kind of weird. How's he ever going to, get past the Nirvana-ness of Nirvana? And, I've just seen so many awesome bands, cool, innovative, new, doing something different, not afraid to take a chance, playing these big giant arenas with the Rolling Stones. So I was really super, psyched that you were part of that.
Yeah, they're the best A&R people who have ever walked the planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
They had Prince opening for them, like before Prince was anything. And Prince was like,
Yes.
he was getting booed off the stage at some of the shows. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They take the risk, which is so cool. Like, they just gamble.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you mentioned him. He's never far from my, he's never far from my heart. I just love him so much. He's just always so close by.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So how much material have you written and locked in? How many Des Rocs records could we possibly get? Do you have, as Prince does, your own sort of mini vault right now? What has the year been like for you, and how much music are we going to get out of this year?
I got a vault and a vault and a vault in my vault. Yeah, I have a ton of music. A lot of it I never want to come out no matter what happens to me. And a lot of it I do. And man, I can't wait for my first album to come out, which I just wrapped up last night. So it's my life's work, and I can't wait to share it with you.
I can't wait for everybody to hear it. Des Rocs, thank you so much. It was so cool hanging out with you, catching up with you. I want our WDHA listeners to know who you are, and you got to check out This Is Our Life. It's just such a dynamite piece of music, and you're such a fun guy to hang out with too. So when we get out of lockdown, you got to come out to the station. Bring the dog with you.
Yes, we're very local.
We're very dog friendly.
Yeah.
Here's mine.
What a cutie.
Rosie, say hi to Des Rocs.
Hi, Rosie. Hey, oh Des. My God, she's adorable.
It's so good to meet you, and we love your music, and we play. Wait, ready? And we play it all the time in the Carr household because you're such a freaking innovative, awesome artist. That's not me doing it. That's Rosie doing the interview.
Oh my God, she's so cute. I can't take it.
Listen, I love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you so much. It was a blast.
It's been a sheer pleasure.
All right. Have a good one.
WDHA's Reconnect with Rockers is powered by Karis Lock Company, your full-service locksmith, and Dover Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram on Route 46 in Rockaway. Online at doverdodge.com.